Y'all ready for this?
How's everyone doing today? Glad to have you along for the ride. Happy Wednesday and Valentine's Day and Arizona's birthday and Ash Wednesday and everything else that's going on today on this fabulous Wednesday. We have so much to talk about with you guys. First and foremost, the Winter Olympics are in full stride. USA's only 5th in the medal count, though. Don't worry, we're going to talk more and more about that. Also, the Phoenix Suns, yeah, they suffered another terrible loss, this time to the Golden State Warriors. But there's a plus. Don't worry, I found a plus. I know it's hard, but I did it for you guys. And also, of course, we're going to be talking Devils in the Diamond, ASU Softball coming off of their first tournament, and also ASU Baseball. They're starting off their season this weekend. I'm Devon Henry. This is Clutch Talk with Devon Henry. That's right, I am Devon Henry. Glad to have you along for the ride. You can listen to every episode of Clutch Talk on mixcloud.com/my name Devon Henry, with select episodes such as this one coming at you live from the Bella Austin studio in downtown Phoenix on my YouTube page at Devon Henry Productions. But of course, what else are we going to start off with today other than what everyone is going to be waiting for? Tomorrow, it is going down. It is your ASU sports headline. So, what do we have going on? It is going to be ASU basketball taking on the Wildcats. But before we get there, let's talk about how ASU got there with an LA sweep this weekend. It is the first weekend sweep under Coach Bobby Hurley. They ended up taking down USC on Thursday, 80-78. They also took down UCLA on Saturday, 88-79. Okay, I'll give it to you. They didn't necessarily win convincingly, but nonetheless, the Sun Devils are back into the AP Top 25. Only 25. But they're back into the AP Top 25. Nonetheless, now sitting at a 19-6 record, and they are now over 500 in Pac-12 play at 7-6. That's the important part really here, is that ASU is finally back over 500 when it comes to taking on these conference opponents. In those games against UCLA and USC, Shan Evans II and Trey Holder both had over 20 points. They accommodated for half of the ASU scoring that LA weekend. The only issue that I saw here is that something that we have seen, besides not being able to play against his own defense, is the issue of stopping shots and stopping big plays from happening. UCLA shot 45% from the field. USC almost shot 50% from the field. Almost one of every two shots went in for USC. But the important part here was that they kind of went back to how you win in old school basketball. They won the turnover game. They had less fouls than their opponents. They passed the balls, and we got back to what ASU did when they were winning back in December. November, October, they were scoring points in both of these games. ASU scores over 80 points. Typically, when they score over 80 points, they win. They're 12-1 in Pac-12 games when scoring 80 or 12-1 when scoring 80 points or more this year. So, what does it feel like, Cody Justice? What does it feel like to finally be back on this wild roller coaster ride? But at the very least, you're back on a high, probably.
Basketball it's a funny game where you can go up and down all the time, and we're a confident team. We're going to stay together through ups and downs. So to see that we're back on our winning ways, it's a great feeling.
So 5 games left this year, but this is the one that matters. It is going down tomorrow night. It's going to be fun. It's on ESPN, so those of you without Pac-12 Network, you can actually watch this game, or you can also listen at BlazeRadioOnline.com. We will have the call for you live on air. Always streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com, just like this show, by the way. But, like I said, this is really the only game that matters out of those 5. Number 17, Arizona Wildcats. Number 25, Arizona State University Sun Devils. If you don't show it here, if you don't show that you can go out and defeat the University of Arizona, that's it. Because if you show that you can win this, maybe you prove that you could be a Sweet 16 team. We've seen this team in non-conference play beat Xavier, beat Kansas, beat even a team who's kind of fighting in Kansas State even. And then you come into Pac-12 play and you can't put up fights against these teams who might be going to the NIT for crying out loud. If you can go out and prove that you have fixed what you have made yourselves lose in these 6 conference games, if you can prove that we can play a zone defense now, if you can prove that we can score high against good teams again like we used to in non-conference play, that is where you have the opportunity to show everyone not only do you belong in the NCAA tournament, which I think that they do so belong in the tournament, but that they aren't going to be a first round out, a round of 32 out, and just some guys who, they had a good year this year. Yeah, they finally got back in. Good for them, whatever. If they lose this game, all that proves is that you can't beat opponents who are going to the NCAA tournament. That proves that you just can't beat them. You lost against U of A already once. You lost against Washington. You've lost against 6 teams in the Pac-12, most of which aren't going to be going to the NCAA March Madness tournament. So if you can go out and beat U of A and prove that you belong to be there, that's all that matters. Those next 4 games, you know what? You can lose those next 4 games, but if you can show that you can beat these top 25 opponents when it matters, that's going to be everything that not just the AP is going to be looking at, but it's also what the fans, it's what people outside of ASU, it's what the other teams are going to have to look at. Also, I think it's going to be a battle in the post. Both these teams are fantastic from beyond the arc, of course. They both have very high-powered offenses, but I think that this is going to be a Daquan Lake versus DeAndre Ayton battle. If Daquan Lake can own the inside, if you can stop DeAndre Ayton, who had a double-double against you last time, I think that that's going to be a huge difference maker. In the last game also this year, U of A was also number 17 in that last meeting. I also mentioned how important it is for ASU to go out and score more than 80 points. Get into the 90s. If you get into the 90s, I think you win this game. But U of A has only allowed 80 points 3 times in Pac-12 plays. ASU, 5 straight losses against the U of A Wildcats in men's basketball. You got to turn that around tomorrow. Like I said, the call will be on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Because, ESPN, whatever. Come listen to us. We got you. We are your local student station. Now let's move to the Diamond. Number 18 softball and also Sun Devil baseball will be taking the field this weekend. Softball did just complete their latest classic. They went 5-1. That lone loss was to number 12, now number 10 in the nation, Tennessee. But besides that, you go out, you beat Purdue, you beat Nebraska, you beat Indiana, you beat Notre Dame, and you beat St. Mary's. Those aren't nobody's schools. They aren't nobody's schools, and that has moved softball up to the number 18 spot in the NCAA, a jump of 5 spots from their pre-poll or preseason poll ranking, I should say. How about this? Don't you just love softball, guys? 5 players. Batting over 300 in those first 6 games, 3 of which are transfers from Fresno State. Fresno State coach where head coach Trisha Ford was coaching before coming over here to Arizona State University. And who would have thought that these 3 transfers, 2 of which are related to each other nonetheless, are going to be so huge for this ASU softball team? I think that they are going to be absolutely huge as they outscored opponents in this classic 38-18 in 6 games. A fantastic showing, but my big question going into the season was who is going to fill the lost productivity from Chelsea Gonzalez last year? She was the one who's going to hit it over the back for you. She was the one who was going to get on base and give you those extra base hits. Who is going to be the one to pick up for that? And I think we found an answer. How about Morgan Howe? 600, batting 600. Don't you just love softball, guys? Batting 600 in 6 games, 12 hits, 9 RBIs, 3 dingers over the back. Morgan Howe, how are you so good?
Honestly, for me, I have to keep it simple. I can't overthink things. So for me, it was just see the ball in, watch it hit the bat, and that's how I have to keep it. Swing hard. That's one thing that they're big on here. So that was another thing I was thinking.
Swing hard. I like it. Swing hard. That's all you need, really, right? Just swing hard. Yeah, 4 games in the Little League Classic coming up this weekend, and I think that's something that is going to be huge for this team. Trisha Ford has talked about it, and also we talk about Coach Tracy Smith with baseball. I was just talking to last week the assistant coach and recruiting coordinator Ben Greenspan from ASU baseball, and what these 2 coaches are talking about mostly with their teams is how well the chemistry is here, how well they are gelling here. Not just baseball before the season starts, but softball in the first 6 games. These teams are feeling really good with each other. They're feeling really gelled with each other. They're really feeling a connection. And, baseball to a degree is more of an individual sport than, say, basketball because, if you can throw the ball to someone from the outfield, if you have aim, then, congrats. But in basketball, you got to throw it through traffic. In football, you need to either give really smooth handoffs or you need to trust that your receiver's going to run a route. Baseball and softball is a little bit less of that. When you go up to bat, it's only yourself. But team mentality, team chemistry, and what is up here in your head is absolutely huge. And that's something that these teams already kind of have, to a degree, figured out. And that's something that's great to hear. Let's move to baseball. Head coach Tracy Smith. 317 wins as the coach of Miami, Ohio between 1997 and 2005. That's who they will be facing this weekend in a 4-game series. So Coach Tracy Smith, of course, or as they call him, Skip, of course, is going to be very happy to take on his former team. And quite frankly, he's going to be excited and he's going to want to beat them. Once again, talking to assistant coach Ben Greenspan, he talked about, what's our favorite part possibly about this 4-game series is finally playing someone different. ASU has only taken on Miami, Ohio twice in ASU baseball history. ASU Baseball 2-0 against Miami, Ohio. They played in the 2000 NCAA Regionals. That was a 15-7 win for ASU. And then also played the season opener 10 years ago now in 2008. That was an 8-0 victory for ASU. So twice they played Miami, Ohio. Now it's also your head coach's former team. And it's going to be fun for them to take on someone who they really haven't seen in 10 years, so it's going to be something a little bit different for them, and the coaches and the players are excited for that. Of course, they're going to have that 4-game series. That's going to be Friday, 2 games Saturday, and a game on Sunday, and then they'll be taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks for an exhibition game on Wednesday. Guys, I want to know, as always, what do you guys think? I asked you guys on Twitter, who's going to have the better win-loss column at the end of the year, ASU baseball or ASU softball? 58% of you guys sticking with softball, 42% of you guys sticking with baseball. I don't know, guys. Baseball might take these first 4 games. They have a win average of 8 runs per game against Miami, Ohio. Well, guys, that'll do it for segment number 1 because we are going to take a very quick break. And when we come back, guys, we're going to be talking about the Cardinals, the quarterback search. Not only what do you guys think the Cardinals should do at quarterback, but what do I think? Not that that's really that important. Also, the Phoenix Suns. There is a plus in their 4 40-point losses this year. I'm Devon Henry. Be sure to stick around. More Clutch Talk coming on up. You're listening to Clutch Talk with Devon Henry. Welcome back, everyone, to Clutch Talk live on Blaze Radio, your local student sports show on your local student station. Remember, you can see and hear every single episode of Clutch Talk on my Mixcloud account, mixcloud.com/Devon Henry, or also select episodes such as this one on YouTube. Guys, we are talking Cardinals football. Yeah, I know, football is not in session, but it is important to know that the Cardinals are looking for a quarterback, in case you just didn't know that. Yeah, that's kind of something that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be needing. Their quarterback situation, Carson Palmer, their starting quarterback of last year, retired, and then backups Drew Stanton and Blaine Gabbert are free agents and also didn't play necessarily great. So, nonetheless, what do the Arizona Cardinals need to do to get themselves back in contention? They finished at 500 last year. Whoopie-doo, didn't make the playoffs or anything. They're still having issues with the offensive line, defensive line, secondary, and now there's talk about, with David Johnson coming back, are they just going to cut Adrian Peterson when it comes to the running back position? Last couple of years, Larry Fitzgerald is really the only receiver catching balls. There's so many things going on right now for the Arizona Cardinals, but if you don't figure out the quarterback first and have a quarterback at the ready, that is going to be your demise this year, is not being able to have someone at the helm and helping you out. Larry Fitzgerald may retire. He may not retire. We don't know yet, quite frankly. And the issue with that is if you get a quarterback that he doesn't necessarily like and he doesn't want to play with, he's gone. bye. So Larry, you need to get someone that Larry Fitzgerald is going to want to play with to bring him back, because he is inarguably your best receiver, one of the best in the NFL, I still believe. So let's take a look at what they have. Number one, I hate to jump on the draft train. I hate to think, like the Philadelphia 76ers, that just drafting a bunch of young guys is going to fix everything. I hate thinking that saying, okay, if we just draft a quarterback, we're going to be fine for the next 10 years. I'm sorry, but Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott are very, very rare occasions. When you look at someone like Aaron Rodgers, or if you look at someone like Tom Brady, they took years to develop themselves before they went in and won Super Bowls. You can't just throw someone on the spot. That's where you get stuff going on like RG3 and, dare I say, Johnny Manziel. But young quarterbacks like that, who get thrown to the fire, and quite frankly, they don't do all that great. Marcus Mariota, I love Marcus Mariota. I think that he's a great guy. I think that he's an all-right quarterback, but nonetheless, he's been doing it by himself the last couple of years, essentially, and he's, quite frankly, hasn't developed all that much to get them into a conference championship or really have them in the talks. Yeah, they got into the playoffs this year, but once again, whoopee-doo, because you're not going to do that much because you have a young quarterback who's not quite developed. What I like to think that you should do is get an experienced quarterback, 2-3 years maybe, and have that youngster that you draft play under him, maybe come in at the end of the game sometime, but at the very least have a leader on and off the field for that young quarterback to look up to and be able to go, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about, and have that young quarterback develop. Now, that way he won't get injured. Now, that way he won't get burnt out and stuff like that. But when you go and look at the free agent pool, there's 28 unrestricted free agent quarterbacks this year. Of course, some of them will probably stay on their teams, kind of like, like Drew Brees and also Case Keenum, more than likely will be staying with their teams along with a few others. But you do have a couple of options. Kirk Cousins, after being basically kicked off the boat with the Washington Redskins, he is now available. If you look at the biggest rumor right now for every single team in the NFL who needs a quarterback, everyone is wondering, oh, how do we trade for Nick Foles? But when you go back and you look kind of more, what I would like to see is a veteran quarterback teaching a young quarterback. You look at this free agent pool, and there's really not much out there. I mean, under what I like, there's a 35-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, yeah, he threw over or almost 200 yards per game last year, had a 7-3 touchdown interception ratio because he only played in like 6 games and only started 3. You know, I don't think you go for someone like Jay Cutler or Mark Sanchez. I mean, the only other option in the free agency is to keep someone long-term instead of going for a draft, and that's either getting Kirk Cousins on a huge contract, or maybe you try to go for Sam Bradford or an Arizona guy, Brock Osweiler. I mean, there's really not much there in the pool for him, but because of that, I have to think that the draft is the best bet for the Cards. I hate getting a young quarterback, straight out of college and throwing him straight into the fire. I really don't think that's good for young quarterbacks unless you're like the Dallas Cowboys when they had Dak Prescott and have a solid offensive line. The last thing that the Cardinals have is a solid offensive line. So putting them out into the fire and having them be constantly hit, because the Cardinals were one of the most quarterback hit teams in the NFL last year, I don't think that's good for a young quarterback. But there's not really any other options. When you look at the Cardinals' 15 pick in the draft, number 15 pick in the draft, I think that going through either Sam Darnold from USC, Josh Rosen from UCLA, Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma, Josh Allen from Wyoming, or how about this guy that everyone's forgetting, I guess, Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. I think that those are going to have to be your best bets, and you throw them to the fire. Maybe you sign an inexperienced free agent like Fitzpatrick or Sanchez who can have on the bench and try to lead him maybe, but that's about it. I think that the draft is going to be the best bet. But which of those draft choices are going to be best for the Arizona Cardinals? I think you should ask Larry Fitzgerald. But I asked you guys, what do you think the Arizona Cardinals should do in terms of the quarterback situation, trading for Nick Foles, signing Kirk Cousins, or drafting a quarterback? 36% of you guys saying get Nick Foles, 21% saying sign Kirk Cousins, and 43% of you guys saying, hey, let's go to the draft. None of you guys saying Drew Stanton or Blaine Gabbert long term. So, guys, let's move on over to the Phoenix Suns now. Oh, happy day. They lost on Monday to the Golden State Warriors by a score of only 129-83. Yeah, woohoo. It is their fourth 40-point loss of the season. They account for half of the 40-point losses in the NBA. And the funniest thing here is that Steve Kerr did not coach the Golden State Warriors. The players coached the Golden State Warriors. Some of the players didn't like that. But like Troy Daniels had a problem with it. But Jared Dudley probably said it best that, yeah, this really doesn't show a lot of respect for your opponent, which I don't really think that matters. But he said, maybe we shouldn't be respected right now, but that's what we have to change. And I think that's Jared Dudley probably having the best look at this out of any Phoenix Suns player or fan. But at the end of the day, man, Steve Kerr thought it would be best to have his players coach each other. Personally, I think that's cool. I would like that. I think that that's a really cool thing to do personally. And I don't think that really shows disrespect. I think that that shows that, quite frankly, they knew that they were going to beat the Phoenix Suns, which was really bad because I'm watching this game in the first quarter. The Warriors, the first 5 minutes of the game, could not figure it out for some reason. They were throwing sloppy passes. They couldn't figure out how to score. They were missing layups, and I'm going, Suns, this is your chance to step up and try to take something. You take something from the Warriors. You lead by 10 in the first quarter. I mean, the fans were quiet and everything, and the Suns couldn't even get on top of them in the first quarter, quite frankly. They would lead by 6, but that was about it. I'm going, guys, you could lead by 12 if you wanted to. The Warriors are playing so badly right now. 5 minutes into the game, and they were still in single digits. But then they blew the entire game and lost by over 40. So, yeah, but here's what I want to talk about. On the trade deadline last week, we talked about what do the Suns need to do. One of their biggest holes is the point guard right now, because I don't think you want Devin Booker in there the whole time. They did trade a second-round draft pick for Elfrid Payton, there you go, from the Orlando Magic. This season, he's been averaging 13.5 points per game, 4 boards, and 6 assists. He has played in 2 games for the Suns now, the Nuggets and the Warriors. In those 2 games, he has averaged 24 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists. Now, I mentioned last week, if the Suns do a trade, maybe you don't want to have to go for draft picks. Maybe you don't want to have to go for youngsters, because how much longer is this rebuilding going to take? Maybe you got to give up a draft pick. I think this was a fantastic trade, giving up a second-round pick, which you don't usually keep if you're the Phoenix Suns typically, and you get a possible long-term young point guard. He's only 23 years old. He is on his last year of his contract, but he fills a point guard spot for now because of how streaky Brandon Knight is when he comes back. I think he'll be a good go-to and another good youngster for this team. And quite frankly, Elfrid Payton sounds actually kind of excited to be on the Phoenix Suns.
Excited, new start, new beginning. Obviously, a chance to play with my good friend TJ. Excited to play with a young nucleus. Get up and down with these guys. I think we have a lot of talent over here. It's going to be fun.
Now, personally, I'm a fan of the facilitating point guard, but in today's NBA, you have Russell Westbrook and Steph Curry. They are scoring point guards, and I guess facilitating is something that you can kind of teach them later. So, I'm happy with Payton right now. He's doing a fantastic job. And, the only issue here, if you've seen his hair, I like to call him the waterfall because his hair just kind of like straight over his face. It's really, really weird, but Elfrid, what is up with your hair, man?
The most asked question is, how do I get it like this? And I think people want this like cool story and like all these different products and stuff. But I really don't use products in my hair or anything like that. It's just kind of how my hair grows. I just wash it.
He washes it. I'm glad to hear that he washes it. The Suns are now 18-40, same record as the Atlanta Hawks, and they're on a 6-game skid. They will play the Utah Jazz tonight. Guys, final segment coming on up. If you want to hear more, if you missed any of the episode, you can always go to mixcloud.com/my name, Devon Henry, Devon with an O, Henry with a Y. Coming up next, we are talking the Winter Olympics for Team USA and also the Cleveland Cavaliers. What's going on? This is Clutch Talk with Devon Henry. I'll see you in just a moment.
You're listening to Clutch Talk with Devon Henry.
Welcome back, everyone, to Clutch Talk live on Blaze Radio. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Coming up next is me with the Car Hop, the best of the 1950s and 60s. We are looking at the best love songs from the 1950s and 60s. It'll be a fun one grab that loved one close and listen to some great old school rock and roll. Guys, final segment here going on. Before we start, this is your local student sports show on your local student station, and I gotta talk to you about some Arizona in the world of NASCAR. The Daytona 500 is this weekend. The qualifying was this past Sunday, actually, and it was the rookie, dare I say now, sensation. It was Alex Bowman, who was taking over the Hendrick Motorsports number 88, which was driven by Dale Jr. last year. He goes out, and he is from Arizona, and he won the pole this year. The state of Arizona is on the pole this Sunday for the Daytona 500, and he is, I believe, he is the first ever pole winner from Arizona at Daytona, and I think he might just be the first ever Arizona pole winner in history, quite frankly. So congrats, Alex Bowman. He is the first rookie pole sitter since in the 500 since his teammate Chase Elliott did it 2 years ago. Also with Arizona in NASCAR, Arizona driver Michael McDowell, he will be making his milestone 250th NASCAR Cup Series starts when the green flag flies at Daytona. So a couple of big Arizona headlines for you coming up on Sunday at the Daytona 500. Now let's move to your national news. Let's talk a little bit about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland chaos. I'll be honest, guys, when I first made up the rundown for this show, it was after the trade deadline when the Cavs threw away a ton of players and only got back a small handful. And I'm going, man, this might just be a little bit of trouble in Akron, Ohio. Because, of course, the big story is, will LeBron James stay? Well, after huge routs of the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's not looking like it so much. But I'm still going to stick with the theme of Cleveland chaos. Because what did this trade deadline moves mean? They traded Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, Jay Crowder, Channing Frye, Iman Shumpert, a 2018 first-round pick, and a 2020 second-round pick. This team is completely different now. There's only 6 players from that championship team 2 seasons ago now. But at the end of the day, they are now rejuvenated. They traded all those players for some youngsters in Rodney Hood, George Hill, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., and a 2020 second-round pick from the Miami Heat. But most importantly, they're having fun. Do you see Jordan Clarkson going out and doing those 3-point celebrations? The Cavaliers love that, for crying out loud. They're having such a great time on the court. LeBron James is jumping and hooting and hollering. This team is completely rejuvenated. Supposedly, Kevin Durant went and gave a hug to LeBron James after their Boston win and said, "You guys look completely different." Because they do. This isn't the same team anymore. They traded away half the team and got back all these youngsters. But why? A lot of people are saying that it's purely because they want to keep LeBron James next year. I don't think so. Yeah, you want to keep the best player in the NBA on your team, but he's already left you once. Then he left the Miami Heat as well in almost maybe not as flashy fashion, but definitely not on good terms like he did the Cleveland Cavaliers the first time. You got to be ready for him to leave this summer. You got to be ready for him to walk out the door and blow all you guys by. So what do? You have Derrick Rose, Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas. I mean, it was the oldest team in the NBA. If LeBron James leaves at the end of the year, you're left with Isaiah Thomas and Kevin Love, really. That couldn't happen. You got K Love for a couple more years. Isaiah Thomas was definitely not happy in Cleveland. He didn't even want to be traded to Boston in the first place. Or traded from Boston in the first place, I should say, but no one was happy. They would show shots at the bench. No one was happy. No one wanted to be there. They were third in the East behind the Toronto Raptors and Boston Celtics. Why? Why would you want to be in Cleveland to play with LeBron James? He ain't happy either. So, what did the Cleveland Cavaliers do? They fit 2 things. 1, if you want to keep LeBron James, there had to be a mass amount of changes. So they did that. Number 2, if LeBron James does leave, you don't want it to end like last time, where you were one of the worst teams in the NBA, every single year until LeBron James came back. So what did they do? They got Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, and Larry Nance Jr. If LeBron leaves, Cleveland's still a playoff team, guys. I think that what was in the front of their heads was if LeBron James leaves, because it seems like he may have already made up his mind, at least before the trade deadline, that he was probably going to leave because he didn't seem very happy, and he will not, I repeat, will not agree to an extension past next year guaranteed. They're ready for him to go. They have a bunch of great young guns, and Kevin Love is stuck there for a couple of years. Fantastic job by the Cleveland Cavalier front office to get themselves ready, not only to try to keep LeBron, but to be ready if he does so leave. We'll talk more of the NBA coming up and also March Madness, but let's move to the Winter Olympics. It is a good time to be 17 years old, ladies and gents. Red Jared won USA's first gold medal of the Olympics in men's slopestyle. 17 years old, holy cow. And then a few days later, it was last night, the snowboarding sensation Chloe Kim, whose parents were actually born in South Korea, she went out and won the halfpipe. Guys, she's going to be a huge name in the Olympics and the X Games for the next 16 years or so, guys. Come on. Good time to be a 17-year-old. My brother's 17 and like, I don't know. I love my brother. I really do, but man, gold medals for two 17-year-olds. Essentially, in a few days, Team USA has now won gold in every snowboarding event as of last night. But another big story for Team USA was Shaun White winning the men's halfpipe. I was sitting there and I watched his final run, and it's oh my gosh. What these guys do is so absolutely amazing. He was so fluid and so smooth. And of course, you're listening to these announcers, which are definitely X Games announcers, and they're going, he has to hit the back-to-backs. He's got to get the combos down. And he had about 5 jumps, and he hit the first combo. The landings were pretty dang good. They weren't perfect, but they were pretty dang good. And he's going, oh man, that might be enough. He's got to do it one more time. And I'm like, dude, I can't even tell you what he just did. That was like a 1460 or something crazy like that. The dude just flipped in the air, landed in the middle of a flip going back down the hill. It was insane. So then he comes back and he's like, dude, he's got to do it again. But now the landing even has to be better. And I'm like, how do you even do that? So then he goes out and it was so fluid. The flips, the spins, and while he's doing that, getting back down on the half pipe was so fluid on his second combo back-to-back. No wonder he won a gold medal. Holy cow. These Olympians are absolutely so amazing. But I know what you're wondering. How much do these guys actually get paid? To go to the Olympics, they get paid nothing. This is according to NBC. They get paid nothing to go to the Olympics. They get paid $25,000 though if they win a gold, $15,000 if they win a silver, $10,000 if they win a bronze. But of course they can go back to America and sell those, right? Well, apparently the value of a gold medal is only $600. The value of a silver is only $300, and the value of a gold or of a bronze is less than $5. So, if you win a gold medal and go back home and sell it, you can apparently come out with $25,600 at your most. Although I'm sure they probably get, some meals paid and maybe some hotels as well. ASU, USA the other way. Currently third in goals with 4 golds, but currently 5th overall with only 7 total medals, so a little bit of a slow start. Germany leads all golds with 7, and also the total with 12 gold medals. More Olympics, hopefully, we're going to be talking about soon here with Clutch Talk on Blaze Radio. But that is going to be it for now. Guys, thank you for joining me, Devon Henry, on Clutch Talk. Had a good old time today. Olympics, Cavaliers with the NBA, Daytona 500 is this weekend. And of course, we are, of course, going to be talking about ASU versus U of A. Be sure to be listening to BlazeRadioOnline.com for that call on that game. Well, that'll do it. Be sure to be following me at DevonHenry77 and be sure to be participating in our polls at Clutch Talk ASU every single week. That'll do it here for Clutch Talk on Blaze Radio with Devon Henry. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Coming up next, the Car Hop, the best of the 1950s and 60s, where all love songs rock and roll today. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy birthday, Arizona. and happy everything else to you. It's Ferris Wheel Day as well. It's National Ferris Wheel Day. So go and find a Ferris wheel, guys. Have a good one.